Hey, everybody. Hello, everyone. And welcome to part one of my virtual book launch party. I have some wonderful friends here today to honor the day with me. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Arwen. Welcome, Nooch. Welcome, Jamie. Welcome, Benebell. I am so happy that you guys are here on this crazy day where I woke up this morning and Amazon said the paper copy of the book was sold out.
Right.
And I was like, that has to be a mistake, or because there's a misspelling on the cover. I was like, did they pull it down? Like, I have no idea. So I just wanted to hang out today and talk about what's going on with you guys, or aspects of reading tarot that are interesting to you right now, or whatever it is that you guys want to kind of share or chit chat about. It's funny, everyone who's now live. I couldn't shut them up before we went live, and now everyone's all quiet.
Well, I guess we just figured you had some stuff to say, so we're all being nice.
I know they're all being really, really nice. All the tarot queens.
We're being polite, which is unusual.
Exactly. So my book, I have it here. It is here. Yeah. Oh, you guys.
It's like the wave.
I know. And it's just been such a remarkably supportive community, and so far so good, knocking on wood, that I've gotten good feedback so far, and it was really a labor of love, and really
How's the process? What inspired you to write this particular subject? We don't see books like this. This subject is pretty off the beaten path in terms of what you see on the marketplace. So what was your inspiration for writing this book?
You know what? My inspiration was seeing just the most horrible comments from pro readers on Facebook groups about the lack of care that they had for their clients. And really what got me fired up was one person in particular who couldn't really articulate the difference between their bias, right? Like just their opinion, and then what they're getting intuitively, and then also what the cards are saying. That's all just mixed. And I just felt like there wasn't a lot of content out there that would help readers just be better readers. And then all these readers who get treated really badly by a triggered client, and then they just blame themselves when it may have nothing to do with them or the quality of the reading that they've given. So I think that this book was really like my other two books in that I want to really help the practitioner. I think that's one part of it. And then the other part was helping people who may not adhere to a traditional way of learning tarot, a different way to maybe approach it and come about it, which I learned, and I've been teaching just because I learned tarot like I learned other languages. And for me, you got to be on the streets, making mistakes, having the locals laugh at you. But that's the only way you really get fluent and comfortable. So really, it's all built for fluency first, accuracy second, because fluency is what really cradles and supports those intuitive insights to show up. But if we're always self-monitoring ourselves, then we shut it down completely. And so this was a technique to facilitate and support that and allow that to happen. So,
Jenna, how do you think you have changed from your beginning roots, which I'm sure were you're such a baby. You're only like 20, 21, I'm sure.
I know, right?
How do you think that your reading has evolved from then to now? And what do you think you would have done with a book like this if you'd had it when you began reading as a professional?
I can't imagine how I would have been if I had this starting out. I can't even imagine. I would have saved myself so much heartache and probably really avoided a lot of mistakes that I made along the way. you know. I mean, I do have a background in psychology as well, organizational psychology. So some of it I was already aware of, like transference and all of that kind of stuff. But I felt like the industry itself is really in a place of kind of, I think, leveling up. Like, I'm like, okay, where's the actual professional organization that needs to happen now? Because that's where we're kind of at. But really just feeling that there wasn't anything like that. And I don't know if we want to inflict ourselves on querents and clients without being honest about how we're showing up. But I look back and also see how I was really, really badly taken advantage of. And I didn't and wasn't even aware of it. So that's part of it too. It's weird because as soon as I think I know tarot, maybe you guys can speak about this too. As soon as I'm like, this is what tarot is, like I got it, I'm good. Like there's nothing left for me. Like like something breaks. There's like a foundation, and then I fall through yet another insane level. Can any of you speak to that as well?
I think, like, for me personally, it's like I was freer before I started reading any books. Because I'm the kind of person, as soon as I start reading, like, oh shit, this is from a system that's like hundreds of years older than I am, and now I'm like doing my own thing, and I must be breaking some rules, and I'm a rule follower. So in order to get around the rules, it's like, that's why I do so many different things all at once. I'm like, well, I haven't found a rule book for what I'm doing, you know. So it's like learning tarot and reading, you know, I think the first book I ever read was actually Rachel Pollack's 78 Degrees of Wisdom. And I was like, oh my God, there's so much in these cards. And it was just kind of like, oh, I'm an imposter. It was like immediately, you know, but then it's helped me kind of also just understanding that there are rules and there are people who are really into these traditions. It's helped me find my own voice. And I know you and I have talked about this a lot, in the sense of, when you first were telling me about the idea about this book, I was so excited because I was like, oh my God, it's so different than everything else I've read, you know, and I appreciate that, because it gives a little bit more permission for those of us who are like, but I don't want to break rules, and I need help smashing the box, you know?
Totally. And Jamie, I'm an Aquarius rising, so rule breaking comes to me very naturally.
I'll just call you when I'm having problems then.
Right, because I'll say, screw it, do your own thing. But for me, this is how I began reading tarot. You know, but I started with Mary Kay Greer's Tarot for Yourself. And it's still in my top 10 books that I recommend. I keep copies that I buy at used bookstores to give to people, because it's got that workbook aspect. But this will be the next book that I'm going to do it for. But I think I'm going to make sure people really want to break free, because some people don't want to break free, right? Some people want to stay right there. And I love what Jenna said about all the different systems, right? I was learning numerology at the same time, astrology, you know, and everything, and bringing it in. The only thing that I never broke through was the Kabbalah. It still remains a really pretty diagram to me.
Same.
Yeah, and I know, like Lon wrote that book on chicken Kabbalah or something, but this book, I love to read. My personal motto, other than seek joy, y'all, is the day I stop learning is the day I start dying. And I love going to classes. I'll take classes with Jenna. You know, anybody that's throwing a class that I can get to. And it's, again, that Aquarius rising makes me want to get all this information. And instead of getting jammed up, I just kind of free flow with it. I'll just, whatever hits me. And I do a lot of intuition. I tell people about my bias, right? I mean, I got to tell people that I am this, and this. And, you know, and if somebody tells me, and I will tell them right up front, if you tell me, does he love me? I'm going to tell you, you just answered your own question. So, and I'm not a good love reader. I know that Jenna is Jenna is a really good love reader, right?
I wonder how we all are on everybody's screen. She's over here for me.
I know, we're all like, it's like the Brady show. We needed one more. Like,
keep doing this.
Here's a story of a group of readers.
Well, that Arwen, when you mentioned questions, while I was reading your book, Jenna, what really jumped at me were the example questions. I just went, oh my God, yeah, this girl's been reading for decades. It's like these are real questions. And I thought, if anyone, it could be a fantasy killer. I mean, I think some tarot readers or people that are going into tarot are just really feeling like they already know kind of what they'll be facing. And it's like, oh, hell no. We're going to get all of humanity at our table. It's going to be right there. And those questions were just like, okay, that would be someone like having a sexual fantasy is different than actually doing it.
Right.
And then you kind of go, oh, I should have kept that a fantasy. Or, I'm going to learn how to roll with it in the 3D. But man, girl, this is it's not a wake up book to me. It's a get real book and not you getting real, all of us getting real. And to me, that is tarot is my muse, is if she's making me more real, if I'm getting more creative, if I feel compassionate, if I'm finding peace, I know that I'm listening to tarot as my muse the way I need to.
Yeah.
And this book is just freaking phenomenal. I'm not just saying that. It's
Right.
I will just use the questions. I will go through and then it's like, if I'm teaching people, it's like, here, we're going to use this question, or we're going to use this exercise, because I love your activities at the end of each chapter too. They're just brilliant. They're so simple.
Yeah.
But they're really complicated.
Yep. That's like, people tell me that, like, you make it look so easy. And I guess, that's always like, when you can take something really complicated and make it really accessible, that you've got your stuff down, where you can really explain it and that person can have a very complicated experience without feeling like they have to do all of this stuff. Like, it's really, I think it's like my teaching background too, kind of like I'm able to take these concepts and bring them in ways that are really accessible. But unless you're really looking under the hood, you don't actually know the mechanics, which is crazy, because I was like, here's a brief history of physics, everybody, like in the book.
I was cracking up. I was like, oh, of course she's bringing in quantum physics and light and planes. And I was like, but my Gemini brain was like, ooh.
Yeah, I was like, Llewellyn is going to be like, get the light cone out of here.
No, keep it in. Keep it in.
Yeah.
I just like thinking about time and like that whole model of like past, present, future is such a Western, and
I actually
like very
bookmarked
individualized. Yeah, there it is. And it was funny because Rachel Pollack and I have been like pen paling, and like we've been talking about cultural perceptions of time and how Aboriginals traditionally have a directionality sense of time, and space. So they don't say right leg, left leg. They'll be like southwest leg, northeast leg, in how they're oriented to the sun. I want to see someone like that. I want to give them a tarot deck and go, what would you do with it? And it's funny because there was actually a podcast recently about a researcher talking about the Aboriginals, and like I was like, oh my God, there they are! Someone else is talking about this but me. And then I always email these researchers and go, do you want to talk about tarot? But I've never gotten a response to that yet. Oh well.
They're probably like, huh? Like, what does this have to do with that? And you'd be like, hi, let me rephrase this. I love tarot. Let me tell you how it ties into this conversation. I think it would blow people's minds,
I'm taking an early British literature class, and we began in the 8th century, or excuse me, the 9th century, and then moved forward. And we went into the Renaissance period, and I'm like, I'm ready. I got something to tell you. And my teacher, the professor, is very into it. They're going to do a medieval fair type thing, and so I'm going to study up on my say. It's not my. I'm a Rider-Waite girl, Rider-Waite Smith. Sorry, Pamela. And I'm going to go and do show them, these tarot decks, and how they get. I think I've got a Visconti's Forza somewhere, and I'm going to show them, how this tarot thing works. So I'm pretty excited about it. I get to dress in period costume. They're not going to get an accent because I sound like the Swedish chef if I do that. So,
Show them the Montaigne tarot.
Say it again.
Show them the Montaigne tarot. I think that's 14 something, right? 1440s, 1450s.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you. I did not know that. I will look that up. I'm not a historian, y'all. I am a fly by the seat of my pants girl, and that's what I said. When I read a book, I just start pulling stuff in. I've got a phrase about the tower, and I don't remember who said it. And they said the tower is built on lies we tell ourselves, and it came from a class. So I don't own it. And I tell people, I don't know I can't remember who said it. I think it was Rachel or Mary Kay, but I don't remember.
I feel like I want to, I've really started to incorporate more and more of Marseille's way of seeing the major arcana into the way I read, because I think that's actually more honest to who we are as humans. And I just look at that mix, to then the Rider-Waite-Smith, and I was like, man, this deck got a total kind of spiritual bypassing, washing over because of the the Golden Dawn and all of that. Because sometimes I need to read the lover as three people. Sometimes I need to read the hangman as the traitor. And when we don't have that as the alternate version in our minds as we're reading, we may miss something that's really real and true and complex about human nature now, rather than always what we're trying to obtain. So I always encourage people study it, because don't be like, oh, it's pips and I'm like, oh, I understand that, but just study the stories and what they were before. It really adds a beautiful layer of choice that you can make when you're doing a reading. You know what I mean?
Well, and it connects us to that whole family of tarot people. I mean, if we come from a lineage, we have lots of beautiful, amazing lineage that, it's like, no, make that, it's not a river, it's an ocean, it just go out into that.
Yeah. And that's what I love about tarot too, is it's so egalitarian that, the common masses can use it. You can also go high level with it. That tarot will work with you in however you need to encounter it, which I think is amazing. And that's why I love it so much, right? Nobody can take it over and say, I am the definitive voice of this.
Unless
many have tried. Many have tried.
Many have tried.
I think it's funny as somebody who creates decks. One of my biggest I'm going to be I'm telling on myself, so y'all, don't get mad at me. But for one of my biggest things is I get a little upset and then irrationally angry when people ask me what a certain card means or where's the guidebook or whatever. And I'm like, it's not my job to tell you what these cards mean. My job was to create them, and you need to connect with them. It's authors' jobs to help you weave a story. But for instance, the one card that I get the most questions about is the Study from Pocket of Pures. And that was a bonus card. That was literally just an afterthought. So it's not in the guidebook. And they're like, well, what does this card mean? I'm like, well, I don't know. What does study mean to you? And then, and I'll be like, it could mean this, but the Scorpio moon and rising in me wants to sting real quick and go, I like skulls, what do you like? What would you do in that big comfy chair in a library? Would you throw a party, or would you dive into the books? So for me, one of my biggest things is tarot gives you these tools. I could give you this deck and I want you to create your own story without a book. Yeah. And what you do with this is you empower people to tap into the intuition, the hits, the giving them permission to trust what comes through for them, not somebody who wrote it 100 years ago, or not us this game of telephone. I love what Nancy said about it being, a sea of voices. These, if they're all our ancestors and they are all our lineage, we might align with some of them and we might not align with some of them. So it's like they're all right and we're also all wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I actually thought a little bit about a class I took at Reader Studio in 2018 that Benebell gave. And their entire
Uh-oh, did we lose her?
Arwen she's traveling through space and time.
The non-linearity of time.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're just freezing intermittently.
Oh, you are.
Yes, the damn kids won't get off my internet. But Benebell was teaching about genetic connection and ancestral connection. And this may not actually been what Benebell taught, but this is what I brought out with me, was about this idea of all this back stuff coming forward and how it affects us as readers. And some of what Jenna said in her book, you know, particularly about bias and like, okay, you know, I need to step myself back out of that, because if you tell me, you know, you want to know when he's going to leave his wife and marry you, I have background experience in that makes me go, never. You know, and so I'm one of those readers that will just, and I've got a Scorpio moon, Jamie, and I'll just go boom, and I forget. My compassion gets lost sometimes. It's why I've stopped. I'm really shutting down on my readings right now, because I'm going to that needle point answer.
Yeah.
And a lot of people seem to not like it as much as I do.
Yeah.
I think a cool question to ask there, though, is at what point do you have to let people make their own mistakes? You know, I mean, there is forecasting, and then there is whether or not telling them the truth of the matter, whether that's going to help them or whether it's going to not help them. You know, and I think that's also another layer of decision making that a reader would have to do to be a responsible reader.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think I do talk about this in the book, that if someone's coming in and I can just sense they're in a heightened state and they want to know about somebody, and I'll ask them before we proceed, would you be okay with any answer showing up? And if you're not going to be okay, then here are some suggestions of what we can do around that. Because to me, and this is the thing I was hammering home in the book, is consent is so important, and that we are in service to the message and also the querent. And we're not like this guru on high, just like dispensing, you know. And that was another thing I saw a lot of, is like when you're a reader and you're being told that you're right a lot, you have to check that. Right. Right. And you have to be careful, because it's not about us. And I've seen readings go wrong on people on purpose, where it's like, you have this chaos machine of all these predictions happening, you know, and I've seen the readings nudge people in really odd ways to get them where they needed to go, but it wasn't a straight shot. Has anyone else seen that over time?
Oh God, I can tell during a reading where it's like, yeah, she's never going to get another reading from me. Like, it's like, you know, I know that they are going to like kind of fuck with her, you know. It's just, it's like, okay, that's up to the divine beings. I'm just the operator. I'm just a telephone operator. I'm just like hooking up the, you know. But I know deep in my gut, it's like, oh yeah, they're not coming back.
She's like, hold on, let me see what this one says.
Yeah,
really. Wrong timeline.
Wrong timeline. Is this the timeline where we have goatees? No.
You know what? And I love that you guys bring that up, because I think that's the one thing that has prevented me from actually reading for other people, like in a intentional manner. I do the scapegoat of, oh, I'll just do a collective reading, and if it resonates, it resonates, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, because I'm so afraid of, I think, having all the baggage that I've seen in my, you know, my tattoo career, of being like, I can tell if the person's just not enjoying our session and I'll never see them again. But I've never translated it to cards, you know? So for me, it's like, I just don't know if my brain can handle it, but I can tell you that reading reading Jenna's book is giving me like a little bit more permission. So I'm like, maybe I'll start with other people, because I've given readings to friends and family, but never strangers. And I'm so afraid,
Wow.
which is bananas, right? Like I've been told that I do a good reading, but I'm like,
yeah,
I realize it's a heavy, I'm not going to say burden, but I don't take it lightly, because when people come to you for readings, they're usually in a vulnerable space. You know?
Yes.
And I don't want to be somebody who's like, well, like is he going to leave his wife? My brain's like, Arwen's going, well, if you have to ask the question, no. But then he might, but then 10 years down the road, when he does the same thing to you, just don't be surprised.
Well, I think, I don't do any of that though, because that's my opinion and that's my bias.
Yeah.
And then that means I'm not reading the cards.
Right.
So I really work to step outside of that. And that's why I have a whole chapter called Judgment is a Card, Not a Reading Style. Like, do you know, like you have to watch for that, because, and if you're getting triggered, which you totally will, because we're human, we have to either be like, am I managing that trigger successfully and keeping it over here where I can take care of it later? Or is it starting to bleed into the way I'm practicing? And if it is, I need to be careful with that. Because I have seen exceptions to every rule I have possibly thought in my head was going to be, so I'm just like, okay, yep. Well, that's my opinion. And that's not what they're here for. Yeah. They're here for the reading. And I need to be in service to that. Yeah. But I will add that in session, and in the one chapter where I talk about the 12 or 13, I'm like, I can't even remember how many layers, 12 or 13 layers to read a tarot, a spread or a reading, is really this idea of volume. And I can see it. So it's like not just what the cards are saying, but how the cards are saying it. Right. So because the cards can say Chad is never coming back.
There's Chad again.
Chad is never coming back. And it could say Chad is not coming back in a kind and gentle, soft way, or in a bitch slappy kind of way. And so I feel like I'm kind of like the ventriloquist's puppet. And I say that the way I'm saying this, I'm taking my cue from the tone and the volume of the reading, which I've never heard anyone really talk about. And I wanted to.
What would be a good example for people who are watching? And just because I'm curious, what would be a soft Chad is like a soft letdown as opposed to a, like,
oh yeah,
he's like what.
I do soft. I can do soft.
She's like Arwen versus Jenna.
I'm like a double Gemini. So basically, a true image of me is like a parrot talking to itself in a mirror. Gemini sun, Gemini moon, and it's like, wah, wah, wah. That's what's happening up here all the time. But sometimes it is hard, right? So if it's like 3 of Swords, the Tower, right, and then like 10 of Swords, that's a little bitch slappy.
Yeah.
And then it can be like, 5 of Cups and maybe 6 of Swords, and then the Star, a little more gentle. And what I've noticed is that the volume of the reading is directly proportional to the level of resistance the querent has. So when a querent is highly resistant to hearing that Chad is not coming back, the volume goes up. That is not just what the tarot is saying, but the tarot knows how to say it to get through whatever psychological defenses that individual has to not hearing the truth.
Right. So it's offering up cards that don't give a yeah but or a backdoor into going back to it. So it's not like somebody would see, I interject like maybe a reverse Prince of Cups. They'd be like, oh, but maybe he still cares. But then if it's like Tower, 3 of Swords, like 7 of Swords, like if they just start adding like those, it's like, no. Like, yes, those are your feelings maybe about Chad, but like the cards are just like, oh, can you pull a clarifier? And each one is like,
it's just the same card that somehow reappears like a magic trick. It's like death. You're like, I didn't know there were 4 deaths in this deck. Oh my God.
And I'll bet that we could all get the same question from one person and put down the same card, and we'd have 7 different answers from the 5 of us. because I firmly believe that I set an intention when I was doing public readings to bring the people in that needed to talk to me.
Mhm.
Every pot has a lid, right? And I put it on my page that if you come to me for a love reading, you're wasting your money and your time. And I send them an article called Tarot Begs the Question that really lays it out on how you ask a question when you work with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that sets the intention so that when I pull in clients, I've got clients that I've read for when their kids were the first one I remember was she really wanted to know about a difference between schools for her kindergartner to go to. Mm-hmm. That kindergartner is now graduated from college. So, and we've continued, and she's not, she's like, she'll show up every other year or something. It's not like a monthly thing, but I really think that we get the clients we're meant to get. Mm-hmm. And those that, and I have people that write to me with questions, and one was a pregnancy question.
Yeah.
And
those are the hardest ones for me.
I will send them to somebody else. I know somebody who's a medical intuitive. If somebody's a relation expert, y'all really want to go talk to this person. If you're doing financial analytical readings, if Benebell was doing readings, I would probably say, I've had a reading by Benebell, which was mind-blowing. I haven't had readings from any of the others of you. I'm going to come. But, I want to, and now that I've kind of retired, I want to be more of a channel. Mm-hmm. I'm working on a page to put up, if you want, mm-hmm. go check this person in terms of what kind of reading you want, mm-hmm. And I want somebody who's confidential. That's a biggie for me, mm-hmm. But
I think the consensual piece, Jen, there's nothing I won't read. I don't, if they come to me, then it's me, mm-hmm. I'm the operator. But that whole idea of consensus, Jesus, no one has mentioned, we talk boundaries a lot, mm-hmm. but consensus is different, and that's the hardest question for me. Should I keep the baby?
Mm-hmm. Oh, nobody's ever asked me that.
Oh my God. Why? See, so I'm getting picked for that for some reason, mm-hmm. and I'll just be very clear with them. Listen, this makes me nervous to answer, to mm-hmm. even look at. So I'm going to have to get in a space where I can look at this more neutrally, but you need to know that I had an abortion in my early 20s and I've never regretted it. Mm-hmm. So you just need to know my experience while mm-hmm. I'm just going to try my best to let this go. And we're going to look at all the different possibilities that could happen here.
Yeah.
And when I do that, when I give myself permission to really be vulnerable and kind of go, okay, this is way bigger than just a bias. This is, mm-hmm. This could affect the way I'm going to read, that literally gives me permission to let it all down and just go into the flow. And a lot of times I won't even remember what I said. So mm-hmm. I know I'm going into pure channel then mm-hmm. with what cards show up. But I love that idea of tone and volume. That's energy. The energy of the cards are really helping me show mm-hmm. the different possibilities.
Yeah.
Because if nothing else, that person just needs to be seen and heard, and know that they will make a right decision for themselves.
Yeah. And that's, yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jenna.
Oh no, like the should I keep the baby? A lot. Should questions like that, I really want to turn into what would it look like? What's the advice or what's the landscape of keeping? And then what's the advice or landscape of not keeping? So now you have a little more clarity. You know what's so interesting? I was listening to a podcast recently, and the online therapy, like BetterHelp, is always like on all the advertisements. And they used two words that I see, the most two important words that almost every client who does an intake form with me, they almost always use one of these two words. And then I heard it also on the therapeutic advertisement. And those two words are clarity and hope. Mm. Those are always the two, always. Not truth. Yeah. That's a different word. It has a different contextual meaning. And hope. Like, right? They want to know. And so I looked at like the feelings wheel. You guys know the feelings wheel?
I love the
And I was
feeling.
like, what's the opposite? What's the like a color wheel? What's the opposite of hope is fear. So then what's driving people to a reading is fear. Even if they don't consciously recognize it, if they're using the word hope, the antithesis of hope is despair. And so I thought it was interesting that the same words were being used in a therapeutic context. And I'm still thinking about that. I know I haven't pulled it apart, but I noticed it. But is it our job as readers to give clarity and hope?
Yes, hope is a huge thing. I don't want someone away from my reading. I'm a seeker. I'm emotional joy. Reason.
Arwen, you're freezing.
Every other word.
I think the universe is saying, "Shut up, Arwen."
No.
But if I can't give you hope when you walk away, why is somebody freaking calling me? Sorry, I didn't know my Skype was on. That's ridiculous. I'm so. What the hell? My technology. This computer is.
Now, if we were doing a reading and that comes in, it'd be like anything
But,
that happens.
oh my
during a
God! The
reading
universe wants you to
like
check
part of the
the
message.
on your car. Yeah.
So what do you think? Let me ask Val. Like, I haven't heard much from you, and I'd like to know.
I might have a controversial opinion on that one.
Ooh.
I think if you cannot find the path of light in any reading, I don't think you should be a pro reader.
Ooh. I don't
like
find
that.
that controversial at all. No. Yeah. And my readings, most of my clients at the end say, well, you told me what I already knew, and now I've got homework. Welcome to Arwen's world. I mean, I do. That's a style I like. I want you to walk away from my reading understanding that your own answers are really within you. The tarot that I read is simply there to say, this is the path you want to focus on. And I'll often talk about, you can take this path or you can take that path. That's up to you. It's not my job to tell you which job is right. It's my job to tell you what are the challenges in each job and what are the benefits. And then that's your decision, babe. It's I can't do that. Because I'm not going to be the one walking into that HR situation, or the archivist librarian. That's actually a question I had once was, do I want to go into archival librarian, or do I want to go into HR? I've got experience with both. And we looked at both, and basically it was, do you want to go somewhere where you can be quiet and introspective, or do you want to go somewhere where you're going to, be introverted? And it both will involve research and thinking. But which is your path? Benebell actually, I think in her reading gave me a kind of a choices idea. So
I love.
It was a long time ago, though.
I love doing questions for people who are like job interviewing. Oh my God, I love those. Like, I love doing strategizing readings. Wow. I'm like, they say they're looking for a queen of wands, but what they're really looking for is Queen of Pentacles. And you need to know that this is how you need to lead and put your foot forward to show what it is that they're looking for, that they're not telling you. I love those. I love those so much. I don't know why, but if you ever are doing it,
you just enjoy talking business.
I do everything though. Everything. I mean, I also, do mediumship readings, which I love. I do past life readings.
Well,
I love all of it.
The reason I say that is because I know, when we've had talks, our phone conversations, whenever it goes into a business mindset, you and I get you want to see two Geminis get fired up, start talking about business, logistics.
True. Yeah.
And Jenna's a great mentor. If you're starting a business, y'all out there in the comment land, if you're starting a business or you want to learn about how to do.
Well, that was my takeaway when I read, what was it? Have Tarot will party. I think it was when you talked a lot about business, and I was like, this book is good for anybody, not just tarot. It is good for any person who is looking to be an entrepreneur. Because I like at that time I was like agreeing with everything. I was like, but I don't read tarot, but I'm agreeing with everything you put forth, you know. So
I look back at early me, and I'm like, what the hell gave this girl the chutzpah to be like, I'm going to be a full-time reader and I'm just going to make up everything and I have no clue what I'm doing. And I'm like, man, that's crazy what she did. Like I look back and go, what were you
Gemini?
thinking?
with double Gemini, I think you would get like the two halves on each side would be going, wait, and you'd have this internal conversation. You know, and I don't want to pigeonhole anybody. Like I know Belle does wonderful spiritual readings, right? And does anybody here do mediumship when they read?
I think everyone does even by accident, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tap into a particular force field, it's going to come through, even if you don't want it to, because you've opened that door.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
You know, I honestly don't know that many full-time readers. I really don't. I know a lot of part-time readers.
Mm-hmm.
And people that read, you know, just out of love, which is cool. I'm not saying I'm not saying full-time is better. It is different.
Yes.
And Jenna's, your book can only be written by someone who's been reading full-time. It is your life-sustaining income. That's how I define full-time. It is your life-sustaining income. You know, and
there's something to be said about, you know what? I'm sorry, Nucha. I just want to jump in. Right. Is that okay? Like that was another pet peeve that like fired me in this reading, was hearing on social media platforms. Just watching the generational difference is like a thing, but just being people like, there's no difference between me. I just opened my deck like a week ago and there's no difference. And I can't tell you what the difference is between me doing that and someone who's got 10,000 readings under their belt. And that like fired my ass up.
Really
I was like, oh, right. I'm going to write a whole book on what the difference is. Here you go. So, you know, like, yeah, will you give me a reading? And that there is a professionalism to the aggregate of that work that I don't think has been adequately, and fear of for political reasons of codifying what that means, right? Again, that egalitarian thing. But there is a difference. Sorry, Nucha. What you're saying? I wanted
to no. That in fact, like the one thing that shocked me, I was like, oh, I did not expect that at all. Was when you said, "Hey, some of your best readings are when you don't feel good."
Oh yeah.
And I went, "Oh my God!" There was a year where I was really struggling with fibroids, and it was painful. But for some reason, when I read, it was like it all got got lifted. I don't know what. I still don't understand that, but it wasn't the pain went away. It was that I could flow with it better, you know. So it's like, oh, I can't believe you wrote that. You know,
neurotransmitters. It's neurotransmitters. It's because when you're doing a reading, you're tapping into a part of your brain that is increasing the levels of particular forms of neurotransmitters in your brains that then block pain.
Oh my God.
I love it. I knew Benebell would have it.
I wanted to jump back really quickly to like brain stuff really quick. Like, and those of you that are listening in, if you go to willyougifmeareading.com, that'll take you to a newsletter you can sign up for. But there's an activity that I add in the newsletter around how to tell, like using a really cool cognitive science method to tell whether you are more of a right brain type tarot reader or a left brain type. But with that being said, and it's really cool and innovative, and I want to see people do it and like tell me about it. So please sign up. But that reading tarot is one of the best whole brain activities that I can even think of, because we're really leaning into the intuitive, the spatial, the symbolic, the systems of thinking of the right brain, and then moving it to the left side, which is linguistic, cause and effect, time-based, logical. And so when people say, oh, I started reading tarot and I'm becoming more intuitive, I would say you always were, but now you're training the left brain to start actually listening to the right brain because it was always there. And like, of course, I reached out to like a neuroscientist. I was like, could you like MRI my brain as I'm doing a reading? Because I want to see what's lighting up. I would be so curious about
cool.
that. Yeah. And also really understanding that, and I confused this for a while, but I'm now pretty certain that psychic is not the same as intuitive. Those are completely two different systems. And then you have a third system, which is your gut brain, your enteric system. And really pulling apart what each of those feels like in a reading really then helps you understand the voice that's coming through. But if we're not monitoring that and listening, and it's just like, whatever, then we actually don't get to lean into all the powerful systems that are given to us to really transmit and a message. So that's like, I just love brain science and I love the psychic stuff and the woo-woo stuff. And I'm like, why do we have to like, I know, Belle, you and I have talked about this for a long time, haven't we? About you can be scientific and you can be logical, but you can also believe in magic and also be psychic. And like, these things don't have to like cancel each other out, right? You can use both of them. So I was wondering, we've got like a few minutes left, and I kind of had a fun little idea. You guys tell me what you think as we finish up. So I've been having a lot of fun with this little unpack that therapy in a box.
Ooh.
And I have a bunch of questions here, and I'm going to just do the good though, because there is the bad and the ugly, unless you guys want a bonus round. I was wondering if I could ask each of you a question from this deck and help us get to know you a little better.
Please do.
Look at how I was so into it. Okay. So I'm going to go alphabetically because I was a teacher once. And so Arwen, here is your card. Your card is this. What is something about you that I or we do not know?
What is something about me that y'all don't know? I am such an open book. I guess, and this is hard to say, that when I get depressed, I go into I'm better not here thoughts. The world would be better without me, which is, I call my brain my frenemy, right? Because sometimes it's against me, but I have to drop out. I am a gut heart person. That's how I read. I tell people I am the Truvy of tarot. If you cry, I'm going to cry. But I have to switch up to my brain at that point and take my heart and brain and go, okay, we're going to do some self-talk, bitch. Because I tell every one of my clients, if you don't talk to yourself like you're your best friend, what the hell? Now, can we raise our hand if we know how to preach the walk and sometimes not walk that walk? Hey, I don't see any other hands up. So
I'm just raising a glass to it. My mom used to say, don't be in your head. Nobody likes you up there. Because I'll be like,
nobody likes me.
Because I'll be like, I was thinking. So I get it. Yeah. Here, I'll raise all my hands.
So that's me. I have gone to tarot conferences and walked into rooms knowing that nobody wanted me there and left without giving the room a chance, right? I have made up everybody's mind for them. And I'll head back to my room and head up there and cry. I am such a crier. So, but that's what goes on. And I am doing better living through chemistry. For anybody out there who is on medication and thinks you cannot read if you're doing, psychological drugs, trust me.
Or drugs. Sorry, that's a whole other.
Yeah. I'm not a smoke pot because I'm in New Mexico. It's, light it up, baby. But so sometimes when I'm in that state, when I'm in that really, really depressive state, I will reschedule readings because you're going to get a reading that says, Queen of Cups. Oh my God, depression. Nothing you feel is real. Nobody wants that. I'm reading for myself at that point. And it's when my biases come up and I cannot break back. You're talking about abortion. I am childless, not by choice. So reading abortion is really difficult for me. I can step back and because I'm pro-choice, right? Row your vote, people. And so I guess that's my really long answer. I'll stop.
I have found IFS, internal family systems, to be super helpful in dealing with like that inner talk or like understanding that that's a schema, you know, that's like a protector that is trying to protect some part, right? And then really showing up with your self energy, your full self, and be like, hey, buddy, we're not going to talk to ourselves like that today, are we? You know, like I'm a kindergartner teacher into my own selves. I'm like, hey, chickie, no, we're not going to be mean today to us. So I appreciate everything that you're saying. And it's valuable that we talk more about that, because I think when we keep it in our own head, then shame starts to fester, and then everyone's in their own little shame bubbles freaking out when we're really so much more alike than different, right? All right, Belle. Okay. Some of these I had to go through because it's like asking you about me, and I'm like, I want to know about you. So we have a reflection.
I want to know about you.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, tell me about me. No, I want to know about you. So what have you figured out in life?
What have I figured out in life?
That's a simple one, right?
I think boundaries are sometimes overhyped, and we put up boundaries with the intention of self-protection, but I don't know if that's the right answer. And I think it might also be a cultural difference. I think Eastern cultures and other cultures other than the Western European one don't have strong senses around boundaries. And I think it helps to have more flow and to absorb other people's problems as your own and learn how to bear and deal with other people's crosses. It actually helps you grow more and deeper. That's something I recently learned.
That's powerful.
Not so bad to bear other people's crosses.
I would love to hear what story, maybe another time, like what story you're thinking of or stories you're thinking of as you're sharing that for yourself, you know, maybe that's for another time, but it makes me more curious about.
Well, the short answer in terms of what I observe in society around us, hearing people talk about cutting off family or cutting off friends because so-and-so is toxic. I think that's kind of what triggered it. Hearing people say, well, they're toxic to me, therefore I'm going to cut them off and let them hang themselves. I think that's where that came from.
I see. That is like a whole other episode we could do. Yeah. I also, like, you know what though? One of my pet peeves of like recent note is, oh, stop trauma dumping on me. And I'm like, that's such an unkind thing, because if someone has trauma, they're not always like aware when they do it. And like, can we come at it in a compassionate way? Instead of like, don't put your stuff on me, you know? And it's like, what does it cost you to hold space for that though? And manage your own uncomfortable emotions as you do so. Now that's the real.
I feel like that is also a direct byproduct of so much digital connection and not actual personal connection, because growing up with friendships and close families and stuff like that, it was almost like, hey, we're going to go have coffee. Like I had lunch the other day with my friend, and we knew without saying that was going to be a space where we could like help each other through some hardships. You know, it wasn't like, hey, let's go have lunch and like trauma dump on each other. It was like, hey, what's going on in your life? And I don't ask that question from a friend expecting like, oh, nothing. I want to know what's going on in your life. But this is somebody who I don't interact with a lot on digital social because she's a friend in real life, you know? So it's kind of like, I feel like that's a byproduct of, we have all these friends, but we don't have those connections, you know, because of the boundaries, perhaps. So when you do that, chat, I probably have a lot to say.
Oh, well, since it's your turn, so the card I have for you is...
Damn it.
Ooh. this is random. I took the ones out that were like, tell me about me, but then I randomized them. So this is your reflection card. And the question is, when was the last time you were proud of yourself?
Ooh.
I know. I was like,
I'm learning to be cool in real life. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of everything that I've accomplished. So for me, it's more being proud without poking holes in everything that I've done, or without going, oh, well, I did that because this person did that. So it's, for me, it's like a loaded question, especially in art, because I swim in the pool of comparison way too much.
Oh, no.
So I can be proud of myself, but somebody did it better. Or, so I'm actually learning to sit with it, and also learning understand the part of me that tries to project it onto somebody else, like the pride, like learning to own it. Like learning that sometimes being proud of something doesn't mean I have a big ego. It means I put a lot of time and energy into it, and I should be excited about it without trying to like dim my own light, So it's like, you're like, oh, it's just a little reflective card. I'm like, no, this is like why I'm in therapy. This is awesome.
It is called therapy in a box. So
yeah, no, I love it. I'm gonna get it.
I know. I saw it come out. Like, oh, that one. Yeah, I think especially as women in the Western sense, we're not socialized to be proud of our accomplishments. We're socialized to demur and be like, oh, no, you though. No, you. Right. And I have to work on that, myself, and be like, no, I did this, and it's okay that I'm proud of it.
You did
and I'm like, no, like, stop. I'm like, running.
No, don't stop. Keep it coming.
So the next one, we have a wild card, and tell a random fact about yourself, Missy.
A random fact. A fact. Ooh, that's the word.
I'm like, did she freeze? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, wow, that's fact. That really, it's that word, fact. To me, fact is kind of something that's really not forever, but well, here's my fact. I absolutely love being a human, but I don't trust humans.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. And tarot helps me love humans. It's actually a major reason I do it. Because I'd rather be with the plant or animal kingdoms.
That's funny, because it sounds like what doctors say a lot. They want to heal people, but they don't trust the words coming out of their patients' mouths. So it's a very similar tenor to what they say,
Reminds me of House. Everybody lies.
I want to thank you. I want to be conscious of your time, and thank you all for showing up and celebrating this day with me. Thank you so much.
Yay.
Thank you, guys.
You should be so damn proud of yourself, Jenna. Fucking damn proud of yourself.
Woo! You did the thing. It's here.
And if you have to go. Those of you that are tuning in live, if you live in Canada or the US, I will send you a free copy that's signed along with the reading included in it. If in the chat right now you put a number in between 1 and 100, I've written down the number that I have here, and the closest person is going to get it. So sorry, it's only you. I can't afford like UK. I don't even know though, but sorry, I'll have to figure that out. For right now, if you're in the US or Canada, put in that number and we'll see who's the winner. So look at all them numbers coming in. while they do that, I just, again, thank you guys so much for coming. I mean, each one of you were invited because in this long journey of being in tarot, you know, I've just been so supported by you all in many different ways. And I'm very, very grateful and very just warm love feelings to each one of you and the friendship that we fostered through tarot. And thank you so much. And if any of you have anything going on that you want to talk about before you leave, I definitely want to hear it. Oh, someone's a dead ringer for the number. Someone's a dead ringer.
Ooh. What happens if you get 2?
Oh, I'll cross that bridge. Hopefully, well, we'll see. And these books could become worth something. I mean, because it does have the misspelling on the cover.
I didn't even notice it. I was like, where? It says a lot about my ability.
I didn't notice it either. I was like, I hate to be that person.
I was like, I like to confidence. We're good.
Remember, confidence is what Jenna means about dancing forward in confidence.
There you go.
Yeah. I do contra dance. I mean, we can contra dance. All right, guys. So here's the number. Katie, you were a dead ringer. It was 88.
Shoot. I was thinking 47.
So and Katie said in chat that she has just begun reading, I believe, and she's just been reading a few years. So congratulations, Katie. Sounds like it was
So Katie, I just put my email address in the chat. Go ahead and email me and give me your address, and I will send it your way, my dear. Yay. Thank you guys again. Is there anybody has anything going on that you want to talk about or just share before we wrap things up? I know you all do.
Well, I asked, I have a newer Tarot Rituals is a book that came out in January. And, I asked Goddess because I have, I anthropomorphize everything. So including cats and dogs. But I said to Goddess, well, what's the influence it's having on people? And she said, wow, it's like, that's none of your damn business.
Oh.
And I said, okay. And well, who's the book for? And she said, it was for you. And for some reason, when I got that, it was like all of a sudden I saw all these online courses, not like real serious deep study as much, although some of them will be, but some of them like Duolingo, like little fun, just playing with things, just really. So this winter, I'm doing both my books into really fun, creative online courses, and some of them being artsy fartsy.
Oh, fun.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That sounds like so much fun playtime. Oh my God. Thank you. Yeah. What else is going on? Yes, Arwen, yes. Were you raising your hand?
2 things. One, I drew a card for each of you while we were talking. Aww. And I'm going to show y'all. But the second one is that I do have an online course that actually came from a workshop. So a little backwards, and I've written a book about it, but it's called Tarot for Writers. And it's one of my loves. It's about how to write a fiction novel. I include the whole story arc. We're using, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. We're using Christopher, I'm sorry, I lost your name, Swing the Cat, which is about, again, writing. He's specifically on plays. And here's the job. Benebell, you got the world. This is Anthony's Penumbra Tarot, and I have
I love
just
that bag.
Jumped on it. Jenna got the Crown of Swords. I know my lighting is so terrible. Got the Agent of Torches. Get going, girl. Get going.
Who did
Jenna,
that?
Nuge got the Agent of Torches, which is the Knight of Wands.
Of course.
So yeah, it speaks to all what you were just saying. Jenna got the Agent. She got the 8 of Torches, and she's walking out of, all of this and walking forward. I love this 8 of Torches. It doesn't talk about, victimhood. It talks about moving forward. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I got the Magician. We'll skip that. But the whole group got 5 of Swords. And at first I was like, I need to reshuffle. But then I looked,
we're sharing your thoughts.
5.
People. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a different way when we talk about how cards show up and they're not. I'll tell people this is the traditional meeting. However, this is what you get. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
Thank
Love
you. Thank you.
Without your
Val,
permission.
Jamie, what anything you guys want to share before we wrap it up?
I got lots of things.
Same, just all over the place.
Just go to our websites.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I got your deck. I haven't even unpacked it yet. I just got it yesterday, so.
I don't understand that. Yesterday, I had a chat with Honoreo on Sunday, and he had still 3 decks all unopened. I was like, Chris, he's like, I wanted to do a live with you. I'm like, how? I open a deck as soon as I get it. But that's my OCD, so it's fine.
I want to hear
I
about
just got it
Benebell.
yesterday, and I've been a little busy, so
No,
normally I
You're
do
good.
rip into them right away.
She wrote a book.
Yeah. Val, anything going on with you? You want to share with the crowd, or?
I don't know, same as Jamie, just all over the place. I'm doodling an Atea deck, so that's been on my mind. But I mean, there's nothing to buy. It's only 20%, 30% done.
What about your book?
Any books kicking around in there?
Yeah. Well, I wrote an I Ching book. It's coming out summer of 2023. It's
I'm so excited.
holistic tarot, so it's pushing on 700 to 800 pages.
Really? I'm so surprised.
You're like giving the OG I Ching book, the Wilhelm's book, a run for its money, it sounds like.
Well, big time, I would say. It really digs deep into the shamanic origins of the I Ching.
That's I'm so excited. I love I Ching.
I love the I Ching, so I'm really, really looking forward to it, Benebell. It's one of my readings for myself. You know, I tried reading for others, and it was like my mom kept showing up. You know, my universal mom that said, "This is for you. Shut up."
I just love the interaction of the trigrams and the elements, and it just makes so much sense. You know, when you've been steeped in Western magical thought, and then you start crossing over to like Asian systems, you're like, well, it can make that much sense. It can all fit. Like, why is this like this over here? When over there, I'm like, oh yes, this makes complete sense. Like, so thank you. I'm so excited. Cool. I can't wait to dig in.
Yeah.
Well, we're all serving the tarot muse beautifully, if you ask me.
Yes. Thank you all again for coming to my little party. And much love to each one of you. And the person who won, Katie, for the book to be sent, email me. And thanks, guys. This has just been a wonderful chat. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.